Good morning.
What's up?
Hello.
How we doing?
Hello.
How's
Good morning.
everybody doing? How's it? What? Hey.
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 How are you?
I'm good. I'm not yet sick.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah. How about you?
Good. Let's save this for when we start the episode.
Oh, we're not started yet?
No. See, we're recording and we're live.
Oh.
So the stuff that we say here is just for the people that are watching us live. And then I'm going to start the episode recording.
This is the special
when I say,
content.
Yeah, this is the special content.
You only get this if it's like
If you're special.
Yeah. You choose to show up here.
This one is live for everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone in the world.
Going wide.
Everyone on the internet, at least.
Yeah.
You can't watch this not on the internet.
That's true. And well,
No, can't watch it live, not on the internet.
right. I guess someone could record this.
Yeah, or you
and
could take
show
it
to
once the
someone
video's
not on
done.
the
You could take it
internet.
on YouTube, take it off of YouTube in one of those various ways, and put it
Yeah.
on a thing. And yeah, that's fine. But you can't watch this live, not on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
Now people know.
Limited to that. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what people are saying. Hello, Princess Cool. Hello, Normal Man.
Hello.
Hello, Zach.
Worm sponsor.
Oh yeah, Worm.
Sanvar, Elias Swift.
I really love that Worm Sponsor is Worm Sponsor when they used to be Worm Superior, but then they sponsored that episode accidentally. We sent people to a website that isn't real. People ask me what I did to my arm. I don't understand that question.
Yeah. What's wrong with your arm?
Seems fine. Look,
Yeah. It looks like like a normal arm.
Normal arm.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it on the air. Oh yeah, people say. Well, I'll talk about social distancing on the air too. That's a good one. Oh yes. Andy mentions if somebody snuck into the office, they could watch it live on the internet. It'd be hard to do because there's not really a place. You couldn't watch us live not on the internet without us seeing you, because this room is like
They could have like spy
they have cameras. Yeah, there's spy
Yeah.
cameras.
Almost definitely someone has spy cameras here.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure, no question. Oh, Worm Sponsor says we're watching each other live, not on the internet.
Lawyered.
We said you can't watch us live. Unless you've been lying to us all along. Well, obviously. That's the point of this. Okay, how are we doing? Yes. Morning Walking Target. Morning Fry Guy. We've got 30 viewers, according to the YouTube stats.
30 viewers.
That's a lot for a live Friday.
That is a lot.
Hello, everybody who's watching us, who we didn't just say hi to. We say hi to the people that are in the chat. The chat is for those of you who are on Patreon that are our contributors. Again, thank you so much to you people. This is what you are, why we do this.
And if you're on there, then we can talk with you.
Yeah. So if you want to join in the chat, there's a contributor level on the Patreon. You're welcome to join us there. But even if you're not a contributor to the Patreon, we're still happy to have you here. These are trying times, and in them, we are here to talk to each other, and you can watch us do so. Aren't we nice?
Are you bored
Magnanimous?
senseless? You can come be bored senseless with us.
All right. Okay. Okay, I think everything is good. I think everything works well.
Cool.
Audio, they can obviously hear us because they heard our dumb jokes. Video looks like it's going. Recording is going. So we're going to start.
Good.
Standy, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the Sentinel Comics Bullpen. This is Editor's Note number 40.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going quite well. Actually, the world is terrifying. How are you?
Yeah, everything sort of just changed overnight.
Yeah, well, especially as you and many of our listeners know, last week I was on a cruise ship.
Well, you were actually kind of fortunate to be,
Yes.
as it turned out.
It turned out quite
because
nicely for me.
It was like, hey, we're going to quarantine these people. And then,
All the people on the cruise ship were screened before getting on the boat. We were all on the boat for a week. In that week time, we were disconnected from everything else. And so I left a world that was aware of and worried about the coronavirus, and I came back to a world that was bonkers.
yeah.
And
So yeah, when you left, you didn't know about toilet paper or meat or bread.
I've never heard of any of those things.
Yeah.
And by the time I came back, they were all sold out. So I still have never seen any of them.
Yeah, they've all been pushed to the forefront of cultural awareness.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No. Well, and it's interesting because it's the news this week has been coming at us so fast. I promise we're not going to talk about coronavirus the whole time. Good Lord. Nobody needs any more of that. And yet, of course, we're going to talk about it. It's forefront on our minds.
That's all anyone's thinking about.
But the news coming at us so fast and everything is changing so much day to day that I was disconnected from the internet for a week, for a whole week. And so by the time I come back, it's like when you see a kid that you only see like once a year. Yeah. You're like, wow, you're growing up so fast.
You've grown so much.
This is what it's like. Because I mean, this week, at the start of this week, they were like, don't gather in groups. Any gathering of over 200 people needs to be canceled.
Now they're like,
and then they were like
10.
50 people, and then they were like 25 people, and then there was a press conference with more than 10 people standing on a stage saying you shouldn't gather in groups of 10 or more people, and it was delightfully hilarious to me. Not us, though. We don't count.
Right.
Like, oh, okay.
We're fine. You don't do it. Yeah. Well, no, it's weird. It's really weird.
It is really weird
how quickly everything happens.
But we're still here. Speaking of, as we mentioned, we're doing this live in front of everyone. This is the first editor's note that's ever been a completely public editor's note. That's exciting. We are, if you're watching us live, you're watching the video, you can verify that Adam and I are in fact properly social distancing. This table is in fact 6 feet wide. Yeah. And we are both behind.
You're leaning over it a little bit.
But I'm standing behind it a bit.
Okay.
So like we're keeping our 6 feet
doing all right
range. We can't touch, and we both have a wingspan of roughly 3 feet. Yeah. So proper social distancing.
You know what's kind of helped is I've been coughing for like the past month.
The Pokemon.
Yeah, the Pokemon.
You've been the Pokemon coughing.
Just like I just have like throat stuff, just like dry throat.
Yeah, this time of year you tend to.
Right. Yeah, it happens every year. And I go out like to get groceries or whatever, and I just give a little like, and everyone goes like,
diving under shelves.
So,
get down!
Yeah,
he's got a cough.
I get plenty of distance around me.
Great.
Yeah, that's nice.
Great. Sanvar says that he needs to see a ruler. You're looking at us now.
Oh.
Because we're the kings. Nope. Okay. So anyway, the other question that people are asking about health concerns, for those of you watching the video, I have this fun arm sling thing going on. Yeah. My arm, I'll stand up a bit on my toes so you can see more of it. Oh, look. There it is. I can wiggle the tips of my fingers, but I shouldn't. The muscles in my right forearm are too strong. They are so strong that they have torn away from the elbow point. This is literally the weirdest of weird flexes, but okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happened. Is my forearm muscles tore away from my elbow point, and as a result, I have to have this arm fully immobilized for 2 to 3 weeks, including no using of my hand. It's all right. It's not like I use my hands or type or write for a living.
You should get dictation software, and then also one of those things that like if people are like fully paralyzed, they put in their mouth to type.
I don't think I need that.
You should do that.
I've just been typing with this hand. What I need is somebody to do all the tasks that I would do with this arm. While I do this arm, what I need literally, Adam, is a right-hand man. Hey. We're going to get you to quit before you even get into the questions?
This just in. I quit.
Yeah, there we go. Boy. So, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
The schedule first.
The schedule. And the exciting thing about the schedule, Adam, is that we are here this is the first month of the few months we will have of the 40s.
The 40s?
The 40s. You feel like it's the year 2020, right? It is, in fact, the 40s. Not the 2040s, just the 40s.
Why?
I'm glad you asked. I was hoping you would.
Yeah, I'm very confused. Of course I would ask.
We're kicking it off here with Editor's Note number 40.
Oh, okay.
Next month is Editor's Note number 41 and episode 140, 141, and 142.
Oh, okay. All right.
For the next few months, we'll have episodes of 140-something and Editor's Note 40-something. Does it mean anything? Gosh, sure it doesn't.
But we don't do editor's notes nearly as fast as, so it's weird that it's synced up like that.
No, I just noticed that when I was typing. I'm like, oh, they're all 40 something. I'll note that down, and then let's not do anything notable to celebrate it other than sometimes mention it and go, what a weird coincidence.
Yeah. All right. Tuesday, April 7th, we have episode 140, which is going to be a writer's room of Misinformation's April Fools, not apostrophe fools.
Right. Yes. It means something.
It does mean something.
It has a specific meaning.
We don't know what it is yet.
No, we do.
Sort of.
We've talked about it.
We did? I forgot, so it's like we did.
Perfect. Tuesday, April 14th is episode 141, which is another writer's room, which is a pre-Oblivion benchmark story. Now, we noted pre-Oblivion benchmark story, and all the stories we do on the letters page, most of the stories we do on the letters page are pre-Oblivion. But we don't just mean pre-Oblivion existing, we mean the Oblivion event, which is notable because Benchmark's not around for very long at all.
Right.
The Oblivion lead up starts pretty soon after Benchmark is introduced. So we wanted this to be a story that had nothing to do with the Oblivion lead up, which is challenging in of its own right.
Here's a Benchmark story that's just about Benchmark.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about how Benchmark connects to everything else that's going on in the rest of the multiverse.
Right. Tuesday, April 21st is Editor's Note 41.
What's that one about?
I don't know. It's about a grab bag of questions that you prep ahead of time that I don't know what they are.
Hey, correct. And Tuesday, April 28th is episode 142, which is a creative process, visionary supporting cast.
That's good. I'm glad that one got on.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All of them this month were really, really. I was excited for any of them. And
yeah. I really like the supporting cast ones though. Is it just like
the Naturalist one ended up being great.
Yeah, it's just like it's nice connective tissue that we don't have a lot of time to do otherwise.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So
all right, so that is the upcoming schedule. By the time this episode goes live in audio form next Tuesday, there will be a calendar in the show notes that shows not only when we're releasing those episodes, which we just told you, but also when we're recording them and when the live editor's note is. That one most likely will be live again just for Patreon supporters, Patreon patrons. But you too could be such a person. And the contributor level are the people that are in the chat. They're the ones that we love the most, but we don't tell our other children that because that's rude.
It's very rude.
You act like you don't have a favorite child.
Right, but we really do. It's the people in the contributor level. But
the other level, the $1 level, is you still get access to the live videos. You can still watch these videos live, and you can comment on things, but you not in the videos, but on the posts. You see the various Patreon posts and things.
Yep. All of it helps us out a whole lot.
Yes,
and we're very grateful for it.
Yes. So thank you. All right, I'm going to try to not just plug the Patreon. We're not here to plug the Patreon, but whenever we talk about the logistics of how it works, we're like, oh, and by the way, this is how it works.
Yeah.
So, okay. With that said, the questions are coming in fast, so let's take a look at the chat, and then we will get into the actual question reading section.
Do you have a time code that you want me to go to?
What? No. Let's see. They go back a ways.
Okay, I need to see a ruler. So.
Yeah, okay. Ecker says there's no milestone like an arbitrary milestone. Correct.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're good.
Oh, okay. No.
I just wanted to read through things so that we had a baseline jumping off point. So we're going to start with questions. Our
sponsor wants to know how my coffee supplies are doing. Pretty good. I got plenty of coffee.
For now.
Yeah.
What happens when your coffee runs out, Adam? Then just grind up all that toilet paper you got.
I'll get more. Yeah. I did my shopping for the month at the beginning of the month before everyone was panicked. Mm-hmm. And like that's not something that we usually do. It was just like, you know what, we're gonna start doing this. We're gonna start, trying to do it for the month.
Sure.
And so like I do have a lot of toilet paper.
You fool.
Because I got like I decided that I'm going to be like a toilet paper baron, have like a giant throne of rolls and sit atop it and like make people come and
I've got bad news for you. There's definitely people who bought way more toilet paper.
Squares. Like, dance for me, and you may have a square.
Yeah. It's someone who just, I guess, joined in, asked what happened to my arm. The muscles tore away from the elbow. It was bad. But it'll be fine. Okay. Okay. Trevor, cue the transition music. Oh, I love this song. Oh, I love this track. All right.
You might be my lucky star.
All right. As per usual, it's an editor's note, and that means we start with questions about a thing that we talked about in ancient history.
It was a long time ago now.
Years ago.
Yeah.
But we're still talking about it.
Whatever.
That's right. It's shipping. Nope. It's Oblivion questions. We got lingering questions about the Oblivion event. They get wilder every month. The first one comes from James Gibson, who writes, "Hello. Simple, or so I think, question. In the post-Oblivion timeline, people in the RPG universe are unable to interact with the multiverse at large. Yes. Correct. Thank you for your question. Next letter." I don't know where that one got you.
I don't know why either. It's not any funnier than any of the other times you do that exact thing. But
Yes.
for some reason,
That one.
Yeah.
I'm honing my delivery.
All right.
However, if someone, say a new character created for the RPG, were able to travel back in time to before Oblivion, would one of the characters that was able to access the multiverse at that time, say La Commodora, be able to take that person for a jaunt outside of the Prime universes? Or is time travel to before Oblivion forbidden? Or would they simply pop back to existence as in the RPG universe when they tried to leave it? Or is it just that characters that exist in the RPG universe cannot leave it of their own volition, and in fact, they can leave it as long as they always did leave it if they traveled back to when things like that were possible?
Oh,
yeah, that last
okay.
sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the question, like, we've said before that time travel is possible because of the shattering of the timelines, but then there are characters like La Commodora specifically, La Capitan, who can travel within timelines because of a very specific set of powers / abilities / technology, etc.
Yeah.
The question is, can somebody within the RPG timeline travel to before the Oblivion event? We had said that there was a point in which time travel was happening before the Oblivion event that you couldn't travel to past the Oblivion event because there was just this like blackness of everything that couldn't, it was impassable of like, nope, there's nothing beyond this point.
Right.
So how do we get there? We can't do it. That's how Commodore figured out, okay, we need to go back. We need to figure out, we need to stop this thing. It's the end of all things and all times, and that's bad. I think that there is a similar barrier, essentially, that if you have somebody who is truly a time traveler, they time traveling to before Oblivion isn't really going to be possible. There's like micro time adjustment things that can happen, but not a full-on, let's go back to 30 years ago. What are you thinking? Yeah.
That's really hard to, like, because we don't have anyone that can do that right now.
Right. That is very intentionally, there's no one in Sentinel Comics who is doing that, so this is very theoretical.
Right. My impulse... If La Commodora was around.
Sure. Let's say she's around and she's got her usual set of powers.
Right. I don't know that she couldn't go back.
Okay.
But I do know that she wouldn't, because she wouldn't want to risk messing it up. And so, like,
it turned out to work.
Yeah.
And so, like, no. So here's the other question, is like, if she went back, could she change things?
I think she could. I think that even if she couldn't, she thinks she could.
Right.
Like, yeah. And the tiniest possibility of doing that is disastrous.
Sure, okay, but let's say you've got La Capitan and she's in chaos mode. It's young La Capitan. She's doing whatever she wants. She doesn't care about outcomes or fallout. At that point, theoretically, what's to stop her? It seems like nothing. And certainly we're not going to say time travel is closed forever. There's going to be some stories happening in Sentinel Comics in which somebody's going to do some sort of time travel. Yeah. So either they can't, or they can, but things are closed in some way. There has to be some restriction. There's something that's preventing. It can't just be a moral imperative that's preventing somebody from messing with things.
I mean, like, I'm getting into territory now that it's like, oh no, I want to talk to you about this all day.
Right, exactly. I think that the answer right now is that no time travel is happening.
Right.
Like within the pages of Sentinel Comics right now, at this early stage, no time travel is happening, and so anything that looks like time travel is either like the stuff that happened in your RPG game that you ran.
Yes.
Was that time travel, or was that like a facsimile of time travel that functioned and looked the same and felt the same, but it wasn't actually progressing to a point in time that is inaccessible? Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think we necessarily need to answer that fully on the air right now.
Right.
But that is what we have to consider.
Yeah, I mean, the intention of it is that it's not actually time travel, is that it's like reality warping that, like...
Yes.
That you're interfacing with it as though it were time travel, but
it's not.
But it's not actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Which seems like a cheating answer, but it's like that is the way it's felt to me as well.
Yeah.
So I really like, as a quick aside, that you're like, I'm going to do this street level game, and then you did not stick to it.
No, I didn't stick to it at all.
You failed that pretty hard. It was a great game.
I did feel that.
Yeah.
But it was also like, I have these building blocks, and these are bigger blocks.
It was great.
I want, so
it was a great game.
Yeah.
But I just like, I've got this idea. It's going to be street level. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be this like kind of low power, high stakes thing. And then it was like, nah, reality warping, time travel, all existence.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, Adam. All right. You don't get to look down your street level loving nose at us.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
I'll do an actual street level one.
Maybe.
We'll see.
It doesn't work right now. Nobody's allowed on the streets.
Oh.
All right.
Now's the time for villains to strike.
It's exactly right.
We in no way endorse villains.
We are not. I mean,
going out there and doing
not real life villains.
People.
This is not a call to action. This is a call to inaction. Stay at home.
Right.
Do nothing.
Especially if you're a villain.
Especially if you're a villain, you should be practicing social distancing.
Yes.
And not getting near any other people to threaten them or otherwise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I have a letter from the Infrared Instrumentalist, who writes, "Greetings, Christopher."
I want to pause right there. I love that name.
Yeah.
The Infrared Instrumentalist. That's a mouthful.
It is. Greetings, Christopher, Kira Bedell, and Adam Kira Robataro. Nice use of
maybe they're Thorathian.
Or Thorathian.
Yeah.
Surnames. I've been listening to your podcast as a guide to the strange reality I find myself trapped in. I previously knew Earth only as the home planet of the tyrannical Grand Warlord Vance and his mech-bound legions.
Wow. Something's happening here.
Yeah, so it has been very helpful in determining who is who and what is what. Thank you. That's pretty rad. I like that. It's a good take. However, I have a question concerning the splitting of the timelines and my fellow heroes who traveled through the Mistgates. I have a few ideas as to what may have happened, and I would like you to clarify which, if any, are correct.
All right, so which of these things are correct? Now, before we look at, there's 3 different options to pick from here. Is it one of them's correct and 2 of them are lies? Or, like, are we saying Y/N on each of them individually? I'm guessing it's,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I think what's Y/N on each individually.
Probably.
Number 1, because the Mistgates were specifically tied to Oblivion, all of the heroes were placed in Universe 1 when the timeline split, leaving none in the Vertex timeline. If this is true, could this have resulted in a Mistgate opening in the Vertex timeline, taking some heroes from there into Universe 1?
I've looked ahead.
Okay.
They are not. It's one of the 3 of these is correct. The other 2 are necessarily incorrect.
Oh, okay.
So keep going.
Keep going. All right. Number 2, the Mistgate heroes are not tied to Oblivion, but cannot be split due to them not being from this timeline, resulting in them being randomly scattered between the Vertex timeline and Universe 1. Or, number 3, when the timeline split, it split everything except Oblivion, meaning there would be versions of every hero, even the Mistgate heroes, in both timelines. If this happened, could both versions of a hero have managed to successfully find their way back to their home timeline before Universe
Start that sentence over.
Yeah, sorry. I was
I know.
Like fighting a burp there.
Good job.
I didn't fully burp, so fight successful.
Even still, start that sentence over. Back it up, Trevor.
If this happened, could both versions of a hero have managed to successfully find their way back to their home timeline before Universe 1 was sealed, resulting in 2 near-identical versions of a hero in the same timeline? If one version did not make it back, but the other did, would their home timeline even notice they were gone? Thank you for the advice, the Infrared Instrumentalist.
Okay. So, do you understand the distinction between the 3 options?
Not entirely.
Okay,
There's
so-
a lot of extra words, I feel like,
Yeah. So
that are confusing me.
version 1
Words are confusing.
is mist gates are tied to Oblivion.
Okay.
And so that means that any heroes, so that all heroes that came through the mist gates go to Universe 1. And when the timeline splits, none of the mist gate heroes go to the Vertex timeline. They're all just in Universe 1. Version 2 is the mist gates are not tied to Oblivion, but they can't be split since they're not part. But the universe, the Mistgate heroes cannot be split because they're not from Universe 1 timeline. They're from other universes.
Okay.
And so they're randomly scattered between the Vertex timeline and Timeline 1, and Universe 1. And then number 3, the timeline splits. It splits everything except for Oblivion, meaning that there's versions of every hero. There's a Universe 1 version of the Mistgate hero, and there's also a Vertex version. There's 2 different versions of those different heroes.
Okay, so it's specifically asking about heroes that were here because of the
Mistgates. That is the only thing that's important here. Is Mistgate heroes. Now, I will say the first first clause of point 3 is absolutely is correct. Rather, the first and the middle part of it, in that the timeline, the Mistgates, or when the universe splits, it can't split Oblivion,
right? Because
Oblivion's a singular entity. So in none of these instances does Oblivion get split. When the split happens, I think that what's closest is somewhere between 1 and 2. It's not splitting all the Mistgate heroes. There's not the Mistgate heroes are from some other universe. They're not coming to this universe and then getting split into 2 different versions of themselves within this universe. So the trick is that it's not that the Mistgates are tied to Oblivion, but the point of the Mistgates, the point of the heroes that have come to the Mistgate are to fight Oblivion, and therefore when the fight happens against Oblivion, the Mistgate heroes stay where Oblivion is.
Okay.
They stay with Oblivion. They stay with the Oblivion fight. They stay with the Oblivion forces. Not to say that none can show up in the Vertex universe, because as the Oblivion fight is ending, the Mistgates are closing, and the various heroes that have come through the Mistgates, most of them are trying to go back through the Mistgates. And they might go through the Mistgates and thus end up in the Vertex universe, which from their point of view would seem like, oh, I've gone through this Mistgate. I'm trying to get home. No, I ended up back where I started, but it's slightly different.
You have to go back through the right Mistgate.
Well, the Mistgates themselves they're not a science. Yeah, they're magic.
Right.
The way they work, they're magic, and they're uncontrolled magic because they have been fired and forgotten. The person that created them is them / no longer exists.
Right.
And so there's not like something that's actively keeping them going in the correct way. They're like, the point of this is to bring heroes into this fight. Them being used to go home, nice, but not the intention. So a lot of heroes do end up going home through the Mistgates. A lot of heroes go through Mistgates and end up somewhere, big question mark. Some heroes don't go through the Mistgates at all. So during the conflict itself, the heroes from the Mistgates are here to fight Oblivion. And after that conflict, they go somewhere. And those somewheres are stay here, go back home, somewhere else. And somewhere else is a very, very large category.
Okay. All right. I sort of get it enough.
And I hope that you all listeners and you infrared instrumentalist writer of this question, I hope that answers your question enough. It's somewhere in the midst of one of these 1, 2, 3 things, but rather than it being one of those 3 specific things, that's where we are.
Okay.
All right.
Whew.
That's it. That's all the questions we have of Oblivion stuff.
Great.
So now we do the exciting part of the show where we look back through the chat and find questions from people in chat.
Oh boy.
All right. We're going back to 11:13. That's when we started questions. I was trying to timestamp it.
11:13.
You guys are chatting today.
Yeah, you are.
Oh boy. Usually I lean on the table. I can't do that now. Mr. Fox says I should come up with a different story every time somebody asks about my arm.
Yeah.
Worm Sponsor says, has somebody measured how much of this podcast is just Christopher and Adam giggling to each other? Not enough.
Yeah, wait, no.
That's a lot.
Okay, here's a question. Mr. Fox asks, how successful were La Commodora and Chrono Ranger in hunting down previous versions of Maria Helena?
Very to the point. I mean, so we talked about this a bit in the episode that we did with where we took the pirate song and turned it into a comic book.
Yeah.
I think that was before there were writers' rooms. I think we just did that one, and we're like, man, that was a cool comic, and that was one of the ones that paved. I'm pretty sure that's actually before writers' rooms.
Oh yeah, because we
didn't do a cover for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, they from their point of view cleaned it all up, but we do know that one didn't get cleaned up.
Yeah.
So there's your answer. Jan Agra writes, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, did Sentinels ever do a St. Patrick's Day themed comic issue?
Almost
definitely.
Yeah. There's
for sure like a Wager Master thing where he's like, I'm green now. And everyone's like, sure. But he's just painted green. Like, he's still blue. Master. You can see the blue skin through him. He could have just made himself green, but no, he painted himself green. Like, yeah, okay.
But Wager Master exists, Guys exist, Setback exists. Like those are a St. Patrick's Day story exists.
Boom. Elias Swift, the heir apparent, writes, related question, what if La Capitan went to the future before Oblivion happened and got stuck on the other side? Is that Maria Elena stuck on the other side of the barrier, or did the end of La Camadora end her too? Okay, so here's a question. So one of the La Capitans goes to the future, stays in the future, Oblivion happens. Now there's La Capitan that was on the other side of Oblivion, and did she survive what happened? Here's the thing. A, this is theoretical. B, this is getting into other stuff.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, that's something I can't really hit.
Right, yeah. So, time will tell. Boy. Oh, Princess Cool asks, which heroes and villains are most affected by social distancing?
Absolute zero. He's had to do it his whole life.
Least affected. No, he's least affected by social distancing. He's like,
I was saying that he's by far the most affected because he's social distanced his entire life.
He's most affected by
the concept of it.
By the concept of it.
Yeah.
But she's asking,
now,
and this is happening right now.
Right.
The social distancing is happening right now.
Yeah, so that's the least
Absolute
affected.
Zero is like, normal. Also immune to disease.
Who is the most affected?
I mean, the Dark Watch team probably, because they are very tight knit.
Yeah, I mean,
they would just quarantine together. Like,
right? Yeah, I think that like it's probably difficult for Tachyon like quite a bit because she's used to going everywhere and doing everything. She can
get her hands on everything and just like, okay, I'm just going to go to these places. People need help. Let me just go there, do this thing. It's like you need to stop going all the places.
And like she knows
you will
the
be a
full
vector of disease
of the
right. As a scientist, she's going to be like, all right, I know what I have to do, but it will really bother her.
Yeah. Probably that's probably the most affected.
Citizens of the Sun, they either all get it or none of them get it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
odds are that they probably won't get. They're pretty isolated.
They are pretty isolated, and as long as they're aware of what's going on. Well, the trick is that they're going to eventually get it. So do they try to get it now and have it run roughshod through their ranks while the rest of the world is down, or risk having to get it later when the rest of the world isn't dealing with it?
I think that they probably are like, okay, so if it were me and I were them, I would wait.
You'd wait?
Yeah, because like it doesn't matter like if no one's bringing the fight to them, you know?
Probably not, yeah. Certainly not right now.
You're on your own timeline.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Tough one.
Yeah.
You got one?
So I did, and hold on.
Good job. You want me to do another one?
I lost it. Hold on. Yeah, give me one. Hold on.
Take your time.
Where did it go?
I'm going to read one.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Infernix writes, passing on a question from Degausser. Did Sentinel Comics ever make a magical girl comic as part of a licensed property
That's
or not?
That's the one I was looking for.
Well, I'm sorry you're bad at remembering.
I just couldn't find that.
It's right here.
Yeah, all right.
I'm pointing at it.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. I wanted to find out who asked it. Yeah. Violet Heart's a magical girl.
Good answer.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
We've also talked about that there is a mangaverse and animeverse, like sort of.
Well, there's also
and there are Japanese
comics.
Yeah, we do have like a whole story about how comics were published in Japan, like non-licensed ones at first, and like there's like a whole section of the universe that has Sentinels manga. Oh, geez. Nimbus says, speaking of villains striking out, earlier this week, a guy went around Main Street shooting out windows with a BB gun. He was caught, but that's awful.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't use this time to be bad. Don't use any time to be bad, but like especially right now, use this time to be kind, to be compassionate, and
help people out.
Right. Yeah.
Help people out. I don't use my platform for a whole lot of things. I'm going to say don't shoot people's windows out with BB guns.
Wow, Adam, brave. It's so brave of you to come out and say that. I know. You're against it.
I know.
I'm
decidedly
very few people are willing to really come out and make a stand about those issues.
I'm going to draw a line in the sand.
Wow.
Say.
You know what the point of a line in the sand is? It's easily erased and moved.
Exactly.
Okay. The Worm sponsor asks which hero would be most used or most likely to be used by Sentinel Comics to do a PSA about germs. Maybe scientist. Maybe Tachyon because she's a scientist. Legacy.
I think
so you've got the coronavirus.
I think it would be like that you have like Legacy save someone and be like touching them on the be like.
And Tachyon's like, whoa, social distancing.
Yeah. Through my phone.
Yeah, Legacy is there to be the everyman and to be like, hey, everybody, do the right thing. And Tachyon's like, I'll say some science words now.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on a minute. Did you wash your hands? Worm sponsor also asks, are the Hakas dual entities not technically singular, but are they still unique in the multiverse?
Well, essentially they're unique in the multiverse in that there are only those two Hakas, but they're not singular or dual entities.
Right.
Like it's just you're either a singular entity or you're not. And singular entity is more than just there's only one of you. It has an amount of connection and power associated with it. But the Hakas are far more powerful than even they know. So it's kind of a yes and no to that question. Mm-hmm. It's something different, but it has some of the same connections. All right.
Rabbit asks a question. Can proletariat... Rabbit asks, can proletariat create a copy of himself and leave any viruses in just the original, or are they also copied?
Definitely also copied.
They're absolutely also copied.
He's got the cold, and he's like, I'll put it in my clone. Now there's two of them with cold. They're like, this is worse.
That sucks. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Looks like we're good.
No.
Oh,
no. That's just a response about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Very good.
All right.
All right. So now we move on to a section called Questions about Sentinel Comics role-playing game, which is coming out soon.
Which you can actually play for free right now.
Good point, Adam. Good point, Adam. We've made the digital files for the starter kit of Sentinel Comics role-playing game free on the Greater Than Games store. And this time when you're like, what am I going to do with all this social distancing time? Grab that thing, play it.
Grab it, download it,
I think some fans, don't quote me on this, but I think some people have made some resources in Roll20 for using the Sentinel Comics role-playing game. So, yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I know that there's various ways you can use it. You can use Roll20 to roll dice, and so you have them roll the 3 dice, and you take your mid and max.
I was using Roll20 when I ran my game online.
Right, but you didn't have any interface things.
I didn't have any interface things. I just slapped a bunch of images in there, and it's like, that's really all you need.
Right, it's a streaming service that you can all get on the same page and have a dice roller built into it.
Yeah.
So that's plenty. The game is not super rules heavy, and all the rules are very easily communicated. Right. So, but anyway, grab the starter kit files. We are, Adam and I, right now, with the exception of recording this, are full steam on the final finishing steps of that
I've been
book.
At the office past 9 p.m. every night this week. I was here till midnight last night.
Yeah, just doing arts.
Just doing that.
Yeah.
Yep. So, home stretch.
It'll be good to be done.
Yeah.
It will be done soon. Well, the book will be out there, and then we'll make the next one because there's a bunch more books to do. Oh, that's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But anyway, Sentinel Comics role-playing game. Go check it out on the Greater Than Game store right now while we answer these questions. First question is from Leo Melanson, aka Level Up Leo. It's been a minute. I like that guy.
Yeah.
Dear CNA and other initials who help with the Sentinels RPG, like D and C and P and another C and A
and J.
Yeah.
An S.
Another A. Another C.
Yeah.
Another P. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, and then there's all the artists.
We're not doing that.
The last editor's
Artists don't get
note
credit.
with the question about heroes doing the impossible or something like that got me thinking about a specific situation involving an overcome. One of my players, instead of a name, let's just call him Migrant P. Hypothetically speaking. All right, John, playing as Legacy, attempted to remove spider bots from the Kloshflora tree using brute strength. He rolled and succeeded with an irrelevant minor twist. Hey, minor twists are never relevant, but it's probably not relevant to the success of the point of the story. I told him that he succeeded in what he was accomplishing, that all the spider bots at the time were removed from the tree. However, as the situation dictates, this is not a way to resolve the issue. They'll just keep coming. I felt this was an occasion where the player learned something from trying an action, and it didn't quite work, but the player was annoyed that their overcome accomplished nothing. Should I have told the player that his overcome wouldn't have worked in this particular situation, since Legacy and character has no way of knowing the spider bots worked? Or was it okay to do them to let them do an overcome that didn't solve the situation? Is it up to the GM to decide what actions are irrelevant when solving a situation? What can work or can't? If the players roll and succeed, is it always a valid solution? Thanks, Level Up Leo. So it's not necessarily always a valid solution. In that case, the adventure specifically dictated you can't just solve these things until you solve the source of them.
Right.
What I would have given Legacy at that point, if Legacy's like, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to clear the thing, I think the way you handle it is very good. And you're like, yes, you cleared all the spider bots, hooray. Oh no, here comes some more.
Yeah.
I would have given him something that is not just you learn something that you've learned that clearing them makes them keep coming back. Be like, okay, you've cleared them, but here comes some more from the eggs laid by the mothership. And so you're like, you have now learned where they're coming from and what has to be done to stop them.
Yeah.
It's the mothership.
The other option is like if something is truly impossible, a lot of times I'll tell them that it's impossible and that their character knows that it's impossible, so they don't
gets the sense.
waste their turn
Be like,
on it.
You get the feeling that like, man, you could do that, but they just keep streaming up out of the water, so it seems like it won't make a dent.
Either make their success still worth something, or just make sure that they know don't waste your turn doing this.
Right. So, but there are ways that you can give people a success where it's like you've learned something and you've gotten something without it being the thing that they necessarily were like, okay, and I'm going to solve the entire situation. It's like, well, listen, you can't solve the entire situation,
right? But
you can work your way towards a solution.
Yeah.
So it sounds like I would say you handled it correctly, but could have communicated more about what it is that they got out of it.
Yeah.
So
I have a letter from Mind Wanderer, who writes, "Hello, gentlemen. I don't like to ask rules questions for the letters page, but I haven't found anyone who has even a strong argument about these. First, the rules say that modifiers apply to an effect die, defined as the single die that determines the magnitude of the effect.
Correct.
It's clear that a single mod applies to a single effect die. But what happens when a single die determines more than one effect? For instance, say you use Galvanize, boost using your mid, and activate Inspiring Totem, which lets you take a free basic action also using your mid. Suppose further that you make an overcome, you get a success with a minor twist, and your GM selects the hero loses health equal to the mid die option. If you used a +2 bonus on this roll, which of those effects does it apply to?"
So does it go on?
It's a different thing.
Okay, so I'll answer that one. Yeah. So the bonus that you're using isn't so much applying to the die as opposed to being applied to the die being used in a particular way. So if you have an effect that says, oh, you do a thing with your mid die, and then you have another secondary thing that also happens with your mid die, and you've got a +2, and you rolled a 4, you say, okay, I'm going to overcome with my mid die, but then I also get to, for a reaction reason, get to boost with my mid die. I added the +2 to the overcome check with the mid die. I don't get the +2 on the boost. The effect die was used in one way, and the effect die is still the same number, but the boost is for one of those actions. So that's how that works.
Second, we know that you have to declare you're using a bonus before you roll, But when do you declare which effect die to apply the bonus to? For instance, can you say you're using a +2 bonus, then roll for Blinding Strike, then decide whether to apply the +2 to the min or the mid based on the results?
Yes. You can't, you say, I'm using this bonus, but then after you roll, and you can be like, look, I'm using these bonuses, and then after you roll, you're like, I'm using these ones here. If you have something that says, I do something with the max, something with the mid, something with the min,
right.
Fantastic.
You just have to say you're using it, and you can use it on whichever
how you wish.
Yeah.
And that way, if it makes a big difference, if one of them's an overcome, and you're like, if I put the +2 here, it changes the outcome of the overcome, whereas if I put the +2 here, it keeps it within the same band of the chart, so it doesn't matter. You're not wasting it. You can use it where it's valuable.
Right.
So,
I've been having lots of fun so far in play-by-post games online, and I'm looking forward to the finished product. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, you can play by post. You can play on something like Skype or Hangout or Zoom or something. You can play on Roll20.
Yep.
What was the one you said?
Discord.
Yes. In fact, there's the GMnatron bot that you can load into Discord that does dice rolling and other things for you, made by one of our delightful Patreon people who's in the chat. I don't know if he's in there right now. I don't see him. But anyway. That's all the RPG questions, so let's go back, look at the chat, and then we'll go on to another section of questions.
One more.
Oh, there is.
There's one more.
That's
for you.
I guess I'll read it.
Yeah, you read that one.
I will pretend like I
There's
didn't.
one more, and then we'll go to the chat.
Okay, good call. Dear Christopher and Adam writes, Degosser. Adam, you say it.
Degosser.
Degosser writes, Dear Christopher and Adam. So, with Chapter 5 released to Kickstarter backers, I've started up a very infrequent Sentinel Comics RPG game with some friends, but I've run into a snag. One friend made a character with the Principle of Whispers. Something about a strange alien obelisk that his family found in a desert. Probably fine. Pay no attention to the fact that it also gives people Maggie's favorite power part detachment. As a quick refresher, Principle of Whispers allows you to overcome using knowledge that you couldn't possibly know. So now my friend is actively plugging his ears and shouting la 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 whenever plot stuff happens, so he doesn't know about it, so he can use the Principle of Whispers. So instead of being invested in the plot, my player is actively running away from it. Oh, I have such a good solution for this. But if your player is being negative at the table, then you get to course correct in a variety of fun ways. We'll talk about this. I'm going to finish the letter. I guess my question boils down to, how often and how strict is the Principle of Whispers supposed to work? Like, if you have friends who could tell you the answer, does that mean you couldn't use it? If your friend is a cyborg Interpol agent, he could use investigation to track down a lead. Does that just turn off so you can't know? Does that turn off so you can't just know where the kidnapped victims are? I see. Just trying to get a feel for this power so that my friend's character can still do their thing and not use Principle of Whispers to solve every problem. So Principle of Whispers says that the whispers can tell you something that you have no way of knowing. That means you have no way of knowing it. If you have a way of knowing it, that's the Principle of Whispers can help you with it. If the player... Okay, we're going to do this fun role play thing. You ready to role play?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're the Principle of Whispers character.
Okay.
All right, I'm the GM, and you meet the mayor, and the mayor tells you all blah, 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 this, that. Okay, great. All right.
I didn't hear anything.
That's great. That's fine. That's fine. So, do any of you have any information on it? And then you're like, oh, I'm going to invoke the
Principle of Whispers. I have information on it.
Here's the problem, Adam.
Yeah.
Your character knows all those things because your character was in the room with the mayor and heard the mayor say all those things. And your character and all your teammates know those things. Now, you, Adam, might not know it because you were being a dick and not paying attention and being actively negative at the table. But your character knows it, and so you can't use Principle of Whispers. I'm sorry that you don't know the things I said, and maybe you should listen to me next time. Also, I hate you.
Wow. A simple no would have sufficed.
So that was overboard and not what we recommend you do. Right. But genuinely, I would say, look, your character knows those things. Your character does have a way of knowing those things. Don't do this nonsense thing. Don't do this weird metagaming thing. Like, do you want to be a hero playing a superhero who has this cool artifact and the whispers say things sometimes, but you don't want to engage too much with this whispers? This is the other thing that I would say.
I was going to say, take them aside outside of the game.
Right.
Talk to this player. Say like, hey, do you want to be here? Do you want to be part of this? Stop doing this.
Now, if you're playing a game where everybody is being silly and ridiculous, and the point is to make a silly ridiculous team, there's a case for, okay, we're all on the same page that we're doing a silly ridiculous thing.
This is my shtick. I don't pay attention to everything, and I count on my stupid inner voice to lead me down the right path.
But then in that case, you as the GM, the inner voice isn't controlled by the player. It's controlled by you. So if somebody's leaning hard on the Principle of Whispers, push into it.
Yeah.
Tell them wrong things sometimes. Have the Whispers have an agenda. The Whispers are not their friend.
Yeah.
Like,
So you can use Whispers as their friend, but like,
when I built Timeslinger with the principle of Whispers essentially because Khan is like, hey, by the way, I know these things, and
Right.
Khan is able to tell Timeslinger these things.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And in that case, Khan is definitely Timeslinger's friend, but also Khan
right.
is,
But when I built Starblade,
the Whispers were
Whispers
not your friends.
were not my friend at all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is like, if players are using a thing negatively, give them a reason to not want to use that thing. But really, I think the biggest thing here is anytime I hear the vast majority of conflicts that happen at an RPG table, and I would call this a conflict, is a situation where people aren't on the same page about why they want to be there.
Yeah.
If you want to be telling comic book superhero stories together, a big section of the RPG book talks about, hey, you're all collaborators creating this comic book story together, so you've got to be working together, not just as your heroes working together to fight the bad guy, but your players working together to tell a story that you're like, this is the tone of the story. This is like a lot of the, it's not a style of comedy sketch that I prefer, but there's a lot of comedy sketches that are like the awkward comedy where everybody in the sketch is like doing a normal everyday thing, and then somebody's being super like weird and like they don't fit in here, and that's where the funniness comes from.
Right.
That is not. It's good. It can be fine comedy, but that's not good storytelling. If everybody's agreed, oh, here we are all playing heroes, and we're all taking this situation seriously, and we're all fighting this villain, and then one person is doing something that is very antithetical to all of that. Like, why are they there?
Right.
So,
Why are they there?
anyway,
Indeed.
I hope that's helpful GM advice for you.
I think it's helpful for me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I knew it already, though.
but it's still helpful.
Yeah, but it's still helpful. Yeah. Now we can look at the chat. I
Thank
give you
Adam.
permission.
Thank you. Here we go. 11:38 is where we start.
Okay.
Walking Target writes in the chat, which Sentinel Comics book was popular in British black and white reprints, got canceled in the States, and then rebranded as a new character, only to eventually get bought out and brought into Sentinel Comics itself years later? This feels like a trivia question.
Right. I don't know which one.
This is a very specific question,
Yeah.
Walking Target. It seems like you have someone in mind. Is there something that we've said was that kind of character, and you're just quizzing us?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't have that answer locked and loaded. Sorry.
Well, I'm not saying there isn't a character like that, but that's
I think that he's referring to stuff kind of like Judge Dredd or Tank Girl or stuff like that.
Right.
That's like
there's gonna be a whole book about that.
yeah.
Non-answer, sir. Elias Swift writes, as a member of Global, I roll an overcome to create world peace. Checkmate, creators.
Oh no.
You make a large bowl of green mashed substances
All right,
that have
so
been
Nimbus asks,
spun together.
Nimbus asks, did the lucky number 7 from the Bloodswarm Coliseum survive Oblivion? You remember them?
Yes. At least some of them did. They were a
Normal
fun
Man
game.
says role playing in my role playing game. Kay has an RPG question.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Kay writes, RPG question. When I'm corrupting a hero character to become a major villain for the plot arc, do I transfer most of the character directly into a villain sheet, making changes to the character's principles, masteries, to reflect to have a solid plot line, or do I instead use the character as a basis for creating a whole new villain? Can I just lift hero powers with tweaks and call them villain powers? I guess I'm really just a sadist.
I believe the word
Please.
is saddest.
Sadist. Oh, you're very sad.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so if you wanted to turn a hero into a villain, rather than saying, mechanically, like the mechanics for heroes and villains aren't one-to-one intentionally, and sure, you could say, I'm going to take all these things and make them villain powers, but I wouldn't. I would say, go to chapter 5 in the book, build a new villain from scratch, looking at the hero and going, okay, thematically, what is this person doing?
What are these
How are they
things?
going to be doing differently as a villain? But it's not rather than, because the thing the outcome you want is a villain that feels like that hero.
Right. When you're creating a villain, you're not going to run into the same restrictions that you do when selecting powers or qualities.
Right. So you can take whatever powers or qualities
you can
need.
have the same powers and qualities
For the most part, depending on the archetype and the other thing. But you'll have the ones, because they depending on the archetype and the approach of the villain, they have different numbers of powers and qualities.
Right.
But it'll work out.
But you can choose whatever you want from those.
Yeah.
So maybe if you have fewer but they're stronger, then you go, oh, they've
neglected this
don't
one
pay
part of
attention to
themselves
this
in order to do this
power.
other thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I would just build a new villain.
Yeah, build them as a villain.
Yeah. And there, because the first step of building a villain is what is your concept of the villain, and your concept is this hero but corrupted,
Right.
and anything that has to be tweaked to make it into a villain instead of a hero, the answer is that's the result of the corruption.
Yep.
So.
Samvar asks, if Proletariat sneezes hard enough, does he make a copy of himself? Could that cause a chain reaction of clones being generated?
So sneezing super hard wouldn't make a copy of Proletariat, but the result of a sneeze could. If he sneezed hard enough that he threw himself into a wall or knocked himself on the feet and fell hard on the ground, that could result in a clone.
You gotta sneeze pretty hard to do that, though.
Yeah, simply a slap in the face wouldn't make a new Proletariat clone unless he was concentrating on, I'm going to make this clone and then that impact. So if he's concentrating on making a clone and sneezed real hard, he could make a clone, but it wouldn't involuntarily do so.
Mm-hmm.
Rabbit asks, in the RPG power sources, do you have a specific category you imagine Omegas falling in? I'd have to look at the list of power sources to be able to say, this is the one.
I think you could go a few ways with
That's the trick. I don't think I would go one way. I think it would be like, okay.
You could do technically experimentation.
You could do accident.
You could do accident.
You definitely could do accident every time.
Yeah.
You could do radiation.
Radiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's kind of whatever.
I mean, in a lot of Omega's cases, you can do unknown.
Yeah, unknown.
So, because we've told you, dear listeners, this person's an Omega.
Yeah.
That's not really a thing that is known yet. So, Dishonorable Dunce used to be K. I swear they were K just a second ago.
Yeah.
Is there a way for my Shmokamon trainer to have regular appearing minions with specific powers in an upcoming RPG book? So the minion maker you could use to do that, where you just look, whenever I make a minion with this property, it's this one Shmokamon.
Right.
And that's the way
this
you do it.
This one pouch beast.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Pouch beast. There you go.
Right.
Gotta put them all in the pouch.
Gotta put them all in a pouch. Pouch beasts.
Oh, goodness. Sanvar asks, this came up in the forums, is there a reason the power sources of training and genius are so similar in abilities and power choices for the dice? Geniuses do a lot of training, and you have to train to be a genius.
I think that they are both more mundane power sets. You know what I mean?
For the power sources, yeah.
I'm not speaking in general.
Mm-hmm.
That they're more grounded.
Yeah, and the ways that they diverge are still useful and interesting, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that worked out. So is there a reason? That's just the way they worked out.
Yeah.
Okay. Handy has another Proletariat question. We have apparently a whole stealth Proletariat section this episode.
Yeah.
Can Proletariat be incapacitated by forcing him into many, 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 many clones and then separating the clones so they can't rejoin? Yeah, you can incapacitate Proletariat by making many, 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 many clones. Then he's no longer Proletariat. He's just a mindless mass of clones.
Right.
It's like we've seen that in a story before.
Almost like that.
Almost like that. But if you were to make a whole bunch of clones and then separate them, yeah, Proletariat can't re-become himself again. That would be a very mean thing to do.
Yeah.
Jerk.
Andy,
why are you so mean? I thought you were a nice person.
Dishonorable Dunce writes, what
You even K?
Yeah, it's still on Dishonorable Dunce.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not going to.
When did that happen?
I don't know. What art style is the art we're seeing for the RPG? I know as your own style has changed, you've talked about potentially going back and reworking older art. Is the current modern style reflective of the prints of comic runs currently? Was there an anime Japanese art influence in the mid-aughts? Okay, so
the art for the book is modern.
The art for the book is modern. There are a couple outliers to that, which you'll see when you have that book. So yes, it is intended as current year modern art. The anime Japanese art influence came in the mid 90s, when like anime reached popularity. You started seeing a lot of that stuff bleed into comics. And since then, like it's just in my estimation, the good artists have incorporated that even more.
Yeah. They've taken parts of it and incorporated it, not all of it. It's not like just make your art anime,
right? But like the strengths of manga storytelling and use of motion and emotion.
Ooh, motion and electronic motion, both.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Oh no! Now they're asking for a Pouch Beasts episode.
Beasts.
Pouch Beasts.
Yeah, you have to say our tiny horsies. You have to change every word in it. Not my little horsies. Pouch Beasts, our little horsies. Sheer Force.
No, it's our tiny horsies.
Our tiny horsies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right. Okay. I could keep going down this road, but I shan't.
Yeah.
Let's go into a short 2-question category named Questions About Fanatic.
Oh, okay. I guess it's been a little while.
Well, so we just somewhat recently, not that recently, but there's still some lingering questions. These two did a story about Fanatic fighting the Josts of Christmas.
That was it was months ago. That was in December.
Daniel writes, "Hey guys, long time, first time, all that. It's been said in several episodes that Fanatic has a particular enmity with ghosts. All ghosts. So with that said, how does she feel about the lovable Muerto? Have they interacted before? Would it be giving up the ghosts to say that they'll fight in the future? Thanks for nearly a decade of fun." So here's a question. Mm-hmm. We said that she would find that she has a hatred of ghosts.
Yes.
And that if she sees a ghost, she will smite it.
Yeah.
Muerto's definitely a ghost.
I actually don't think that Muerto is technically a ghost.
He's dead and thus is in a spirit form.
Right,
and
but
he's a poltergeist.
He's a collection of electrical impulses, though. Like,
so are you?
Yes, exactly. Whereas ghosts are like spiritual.
Oh, here's a fun question. Let's pause this. Let's temporarily, maybe falsely, have you agree that Muerto's a ghost.
Okay.
Just for fun.
All right, I'm going to assume for the sake of argument that Muerto is a ghost.
Is Revolt a ghost then?
By the same token, yes.
Revolt and Muerto are equally ghosts, and yet very... Like, here's the difference. Muerto died. Like, Muerto definitely died and remembers dying. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that happened to Revolt maybe could be counted as him dying, but he doesn't see it like it didn't it wasn't that he died. It's just like, I got converted from being... No, see, here's the thing. Muerto is a ghost. Because the thing that happened... Revolt's actually a really useful thing to analyze this. Okay. The thing that happened to Revolt is he was turned from a series of electrical impulses that was a living being, that was a physical being, into a series of electrical impulse whose physical being is not as important to him, is discorporated.
Okay.
Whereas Muerto was killed, and then the weird stuff that happened with cosmic energy and the artifacts and the thing brought back a part of him that could then, like poltergeist style, inhabit electronic stuff. He's not a series of electrical impulses. He can affect electrical impulses, but he himself isn't electrical impulses.
All right. I still kind of think that from Fanatic's perspective, there is a spiritual factor at play with regular ghosts that is not present in Muerto.
But it is. It definitely is. I think that Fanatic might be willing to lie to herself to say, well, he's not really a ghost because of the other things, but he died and he is a ghost. Like Muerto's just definitely technically a ghost.
But it's like special cosmic magic, though.
Yeah,
It's different than regular ghosts.
He's
He
not a
didn't come back
vengeful spirit who's back for ghost reasons.
Right. That's what. Like, I feel like a ghost has to be back for ghost reasons.
I don't think so. I think this is just a different ghost. This is a more different ghost.
It's ultimately semantics.
It definitely is.
But
welcome to the letters page.
Yeah, but like in my opinion, I feel like a ghost has to be back for ghost reasons. That it is like a tormented spirit.
I think that we've certainly over the years of Sentinel comics seen ghosts that were like not always tormented evil ghosts. There's probably been some ghosts that she had to deal with that were like positive ghosts. And they're like, oh, like there's probably somebody. When we did the Night Mist haunted house thing, not everything was in there. They were all tormented, but not all of them were evil. So there is a spectrum of ghosts, and Muerto is definitely.
Yeah, I don't think all ghosts are evil.
Muerto is certainly tormented.
But Muerto doesn't have the same ghost. Like, well, when I finish my thing, I'm gone.
Are you certain?
Well,
I don't agree. But I think Muerto is a ghost. He is tormented by his death. His purpose in his life was to be a hero, and that was never fulfilled, and that's why he's back, and now he's doing the thing being a hero. Like, he's definitely, on the spectrum of ghosts, he's definitely a far outlier because of magic stuff and because of cosmic stuff and other things.
Yeah.
But he's a ghost, and he's tormented, and he's back because he's back to be a hero.
I don't entirely agree. I don't think.
I know.
I think that
I'm aware.
I think that is his motivation, certainly.
Yeah.
Like, but I think that even if he didn't have that motivation, he would still be back. That is because it's the confluence of events of the space magic,
yes,
and stuff like that created him.
It is a confluence of events and the intention of him as a person. I think that it wouldn't have happened to anybody. I don't think that just anybody who happened to be in that place. Lots of people died in the Freedom Tower destruction. One ghost came out of it.
Maybe.
I think that it was like by the rules of ghosts. And again, far outlier.
Yeah.
Weird cosmic stuff, weird artifact stuff, bunker suits, Omnitron bits, like all sorts of things going on here.
Okay, so do you feel then that Fanatic would view him as an abomination?
I think so.
Really?
I think that Fanatic is racist against Muerto.
Okay.
I think she hates the non-living and would count him as non-living.
Okay.
I think that an argument could be made that she'd be like, okay, maybe Revolt's not a ghost. Because Revolt didn't die, but Muerto did.
Yeah, but he kind of did.
His physical form got destroyed, but he didn't die. Fanatic can understand that.
Okay.
Because you're not your physical form. Your physical, you are not your physical form.
Luminous beings are we, not
right.
this crude matter.
Exactly.
Right.
Muerto entirely died and came back.
Okay. All right.
It's super out there on the spectrum.
Yeah,
super
I can see the distinction.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think that Fanatic could be convinced by other people who could vouch for Muerto. Nah, this one's cool. But I think that's also true of ghosts. I think that if Fanatic was like, ghosts, some ghosts, there's like a ghost doing ghostly things, and she's like, a ghost, I smite it, and people that she knows and trusts, like let's say Argent Adept and Night Mist and Ra, were all like, nah, this ghost is helping us because of these ghost reasons. She'd be like, I don't trust it, but I do trust you people, so okay, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. And I think that's how she'd feel about Muerto too. She's like, I'm not sure that I trust it, but I trust all the people that trust him, so I'm going to just keep an eye and be suspicious, but not smite.
Okay. I have a... Oh, we switched. We ended up because you read the last one.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, that's okay.
I did it 2 in a row.
Yeah.
We'll switch again. It'll be fine.
I have a letter from Eastern Nuggets who writes, noting Fanatic's disdain for ghost goats.
Right, because remember...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because we said goats accidentally, and then we said, yes, Fanatic hates goats.
Goats.
She hates ghosts, and what she hates more than anything else, goats.
Yeah, I would hate that too. I probably said that then. Noting Fanatic's disdain for ghost goats in the last episode, while also keeping in mind that Fanatic is usually a fairly serious character, has there ever been a sillier story that involves our favorite smiting angel of the Lord and a goat of some sort? Perhaps in a lighter desperation story or some sort of guy's shenanigans. Love the show. Keep up the good work.
Is there a specific story about Fanatic and a goat? This one time she's in Mortigrad. People are dancing with the goat. and she smites it.
The only story that I can imagine with Fanatic and a goat is not serious. I mean, it's not
funny
silly at all.
It's a goat demon.
It's definitely a demon.
You got like a
that's taking
Baphomet
the
thing,
shape
and like,
of a goat. Yeah.
Well, and you get a goat, and then it stands up out of its form. It's
Right.
like Baphomet, and she's
You're
like,
like-
oh, like yeah. So
You're like, yeah.
right,
Goat eyes are the creepiest things in the world.
the best.
They're awful.
All right, so quick questions.
Check the chat.
11 to noon is a good point. Francisco says, "Yay, Fanatic, my problematic fave." Legit. Normal Man says, "Fanatic can probably convince herself that Morto's not a ghost, so she can just justify not smiting him."
Elias Swift says, he's not technically a ghost, he's technologically a ghost. Ew. Okay, Miss Drake asks, this is more of a host question, but still, would it be possible for a powerful enough entity to become a host spirit? Like, would it be possible for Night Mist to ascend to the host after the Oblivion event?
So that's not like ascending to the host is not the right way of looking. It could be theoretically possible for something like in the way that I can't say like hard no, nothing.
If I were to if I were to invent a way to become a host,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
it would be that you embody a certain concept enough that like your spirit is one with that thing.
But then you would have to do that and then do some sort of ritual to transfer your spirit to the
Right.
host
or
dimension.
there'd be some weirdo stuff happen.
So it is possible, but for someone to just ascend to the host spirit, no. Being the host isn't heaven. Like it's not
Yeah.
an afterlife. So it's not a thing that's just going to happen on its own, but someone could manufacture a way to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be a common thing. Mr. Fox says, Muerto around Fanatic. Don't mind me, I'm just a robot. Beep boop. Sweats intensely.
Swift says new writer's room idea. Muerto and guys team up. Poltergeist.
So his ability on his hero sheet, in which he can take over a piece of electronics, is called Poltergeist.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that one.
Fright Train and Mecha Stalin have some of the best ability names in their villain sheets. Yeah. There's so many good ones. Yeah. I don't want to go too far into that.
Kay asks, so now that we have established that Haunted Fanatic is now a thing, how long does this arc last for Fanatic? What does this mean for her interactions with other recurring characters like the Prime Wardens? Is this event part of what helps Fanatic develop more of her own humanity? Do her feelings towards ghosts change after the haunted events for the better or the worse?
I'm going to say off the cuff, I think it lasts around a decade or just shy of a decade, but I am not...
Haunted Fanatic?
Yeah, Haunted Fanatic lasts a while.
I don't think it's that long.
It's at least years.
I think maximum 2 years. You never do a story for that long.
Well, it's not a story. It's like a change of the character, and the character is just this is the new normal for
right,
Fanatic.
But like in the era that they do that,
Yeah.
like that maximum 2 years.
But like I said, I'd have to look at the spreadsheet because we have some stuff written in the spreadsheet. But Haunted Fanatics are a super great topic for an episode, but I don't think you even need to submit it because it has been submitted, and we're saving it for October, November because that's really prime October, November stuff. But I know that we were both excited to talk about Haunted Fanatic more because she's awesome.
Yeah.
Lord Wolfhunt, aka Other Brian, asks, what are some of the random things Fanatic can just do without much explanation? I do remember the Prime Wardens episode where she reached into the void and dragged Argent Adept out of it. Anything else like that she does? There's not like specifically a list that we have of here's all the things that she does without explanation. Just with great frequency, not commonly, I wouldn't say, but with great frequency, she'll do a thing and people will be like, wait, you can do that? And she's like, well, it was what needed to be done, so I did it. And it's like, okay.
Right.
And early on, that's explained by saying, she's an angel of the Lord. She does what she needs to. She has power divine. And later it's explained by saying, she's a host being, and there's weirdness from that.
Right.
So,
Miss Drake asks, how would an EMP affect Muerto and Revolt, respectively?
ooh, an EMP could kill Revolt.
Yeah.
Muerto, it would fling him out of the electronics that he's in, but then he'd just be in spirit form and would have to find some other electronics thing to inhabit.
I think that because he's a
probably hurt
villain, because he's a villain, an EMP wouldn't kill him.
Because
it would be like, oh, it dissipates him, and everyone's like, oh, well, he's dead, and then he would come back.
He'd reform somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. I'm saying an EMP has the ability to kill him.
Yeah.
Just like a bullet has the ability to kill Baron Blade.
Right.
But
Yes.
so like an EMP could kill Revolt theoretically, but more likely it would dissipate him and he'd be gone for time unknown, and then show up some other place and be like, he reforms. It's like, what was that?
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh yeah, this is a question that we've gotten before, and I always like it. Infernus asks if Fanatic would potentially smite Muerto for being a ghost. How does she feel about Mr. Fixer when he was a ghost hunting a zombie?
No, she would hate Mr. Fixer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Any interactions with Mr. Fixer while he's both a ghost and a zombie, she it's a situation of like, okay, I know you people, but this is
like
an abomination.
Abhorrent thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Kay asks, in reference to hell dimensions, we got kind of a general definition of these planes of torment. How does Fanatic label such dimensions? Is she more of a biblical hell, or does she subscribe to the planes of torment concept? How does Fanatic feel about non-apostate demonic beings?
So Fanatic's like, there is a hell, and that's where bad people and bad things go/come from. Demonic beings are from hell. That's the way it works.
That's the way it works, and they all suck.
Fanatic's worldview, universe view, multiverse view is not particularly nuanced.
Right.
That is a problem with her as a character. We have established that.
Right. And what's really interesting is like a lot of the things that we culturally attribute to the Bible now came actually from Paradise Lost. And those things are things that are mostly true to Fanatic's character also. She's at times more informed by Paradise Lost than she is the actual Bible.
Andy Aronson, about this very thing, Andy Aronson writes, dying and coming back can't be the only conditions that make Fanatic hate someone. That describes Jesus.
Ooh.
She's like, Jesus, an abomination.
Oh, man.
Jesus didn't die and come back in a, like, I'm a ghost risen in a horrible way. Jesus, according to the mythology that Fanatic believes in, died and came back in a
God way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It is the means by which someone comes back also. If she felt that God raised someone, then she would not view them as an abomination.
She wouldn't have an issue with Lazarus.
Right.
We should have a Lazarus villain.
There's got to be a villain named Lazarus in her.
There's some pits.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Andy Aronson writes, Sentinels of the Multiverse rules question. If Writhe in the Sentinels deck has his signature card out and a damage of 3 is coming at him, so it's redirected, does the new target take 1 or 3 damage? 1 damage, because it gets reduced and redirected. I am pretty sure. I'd have to look at the cards, but that's just going off the top of my head.
Goat, I am Baphomet Fanatic. I knew it.
All goats.
Yeah.
Oh man, we have so many Fanatic questions. We need to move on from Fanatic questions.
Yeah.
Kay asks, when Fanatic turns loose her powers, when Fanatic turns her powers loose to do things beyond typical Fanatic level, is there some visual representation of this happening? Have we seen holy glowing symbols in some sort of... We have seen holy glowing symbols in some of her card art. Is such divine magic common with her power usage? Could a powerful master of magic replicate some semblance of her powers via common magical sources using those symbols? Or would it be impossible because they are more representing her direct contact with the host?
Okay, so the power signature comes from the way that she believes her powers work. Like, it doesn't form crosses because the
cross is
in
powerful.
This instance is that it's that's how she imagines it works.
The divine symbols are connected to the host, and somebody couldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to take these runes from the side of Fanatic Sword and do something with them. Right. They're powerful because of her. She makes them and gives them her power.
Right.
So,
those symbols like do work in other instances, like we've talked about with vampires and stuff like that. That like instances of faith will like that'll have some effect on things.
Yeah.
But like in her case specifically, it is I believe this power comes from God, and therefore it is like getting the God symbology.
Princess Cool says, where did Fright Train get his love of trains anyway? Do we ever get an explanation on that?
Nope. He just likes trains.
Princess Cool, why do you like shipping?
Yeah.
He likes trains.
He just likes them.
Have you seen trains? They're cool.
Yeah.
He's into them.
It's a big, powerful machine.
Mr. Fox asks, how would the regression darts work on Fanatic? They would take away her powers.
Yeah. They would work.
And thus she would die?
Okay. So regression darts, I don't think are actually working on her.
No.
That she just thinks that they're working on her.
Right. So the trick is that regression darts aren't a one-stop shop, prevent all power usage. They are reduce the power that somebody has. Mm-hmm. And in the card game, they work the way they do because they're a card game thing. But in the comics, they can weaken someone a bunch and temporarily take away their powers. They can completely erase somebody's powers. It's what needs to be happening with the story / what the intent of Baron Blade / the hero is.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else? Are we good?
I think we're good. Yep. We're gonna switch again. Questions about Parse.
All right, new topic.
Yep.
Or hold on. Do we want to switch again? So no, we're on the right order. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
This question is from RCPD representative. Hello, Rook City citizens, Christopher and Adam.
Hold on, wait a second.
You're assuming a lot. I would never ever live in Rook City.
No, our job here is to play along. For the purpose of this letter, we live in Rook City.
Oh, God. Okay. All right.
My life is terrible.
Yeah, life is awful. I need to move.
But I probably this arm thing probably has a sword or a gun in it. So
maybe
if I'm living in Rook City,
or it's a sword or gun injury.
Oh, why not both?
Yeah, it's a sword gun injury.
Yeah,
they're like stab it in and then shoot
the gun. Oh man,
it's just awful.
Rook City.
I would like to thank you first and foremost for paying us your weekly arrest immunity fees, so we at the RCPD do not have to come and put you in jail. Worst place ever.
I mean, aren't you just describing taxes? Anyway, let's move on.
Second, from my understanding, you'd have some information on the duo known as 80s Parse and Lefty. I would like for you to answer as much as you can, and keep in mind that your arrest immunity is null and void if you don't provide information we deem as crucial to this topic. This is super on brand for the Rook City Police Department.
Yeah, no.
First off, many have spread the appalling rumor that the cops of our fair city are crooked. Well, I'd like first off to say that those who believe so are being taken care of. I would like to know. How does Parse treat cops in Rook City with this slander constantly being passed around? Does she treat them like legitimate law enforcement they are and leave them be, or has she crusaded against them before?
She's not crusaded against them. Parse is, her story isn't one of like work her way through the police department to find out root out the corruption.
I'm 100% sure she's killed a dirty cop,
but she's
though.
Definitely killed cops, and she's like, oh, I'm working my way through this drug den, and then there's some cops that are there that are like on the take or something, and she's like, you're just the same. There's no space where they're like, we're cops, lady. She's like, yeah, great. I am a murderer. Yeah. So do your job.
Right. At the point that I've killed like 100 drug dealers, one dirty cop isn't going to put me away for any longer.
Like, you are just as bad.
Yeah.
I am here to cut out the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm. Second, her associate known as Lefty. The first one or two times a man with no left hand joins a gang and that gang gets killed could be a coincidence. Mm-hmm. But how did gangs now not start to put two and two together and shoot Lefty on sight? After all, I doubt it would be known to other gangs when a rival or ally gang got shot up, coincidentally by the same person, after they hired a man with no left hand. So, was that a conflict that ever came up?
You're assuming some sort of like gang message board,
right?
In which the gangs are like, oh, and we just hired this guy with no left hand. Weird that, but no worries.
Hold on,
then a couple of days later, we're getting shot up right now.
1985.
We're getting shot up right now by a lady with a bow and arrow. and then postscript, we are all dead. And then different ones at points, weird, we just hired a guy with no left hand. Oh no, we're getting shot. Like, the communication here, the gangs don't really, like, there's word that gets out, and there's certainly going to be a story at some point in which Lefty gets himself in trouble, and someone's like, don't you think we wouldn't, we know, we're paying attention, we see what's going on. So there's going to be, there are stories about that very thing happening, but there's not
like, I bet you, like, he stops being useful as soon as the gang figures out and uses him as bait for Parse.
Well, and you're going to definitely have times where he's in different disguises and has to, like, has a some sort of prosthetic or something.
He's like, look at my left hand. See it? I have one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, can you fold it? Nope.
Puts it behind his back, folds with his other hand, brings it back. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering our questions and helping further the RCPD's investigation. Enclosed, you'll find a bumper sticker that, when out on your car, will provide you with red light immunity for 2 months. If you're ever interested in renewing this privilege, please be sure to add an additional $50 to your weekly fees. Regards, Rook City Police Department, Officer Redacted.
So a bumper sticker like that in Rook City would not be very much useful. Let's say you could skip all the red lights you want.
Yeah.
You still have to deal with, like, people driving around in Rook City.
Yeah.
Like,
I imagine a large number of the lights are broken also.
Right.
Like,
I have red light immunity. I just pull the gun out of my glove compartment, because in Rook City, I do not have a gun in my glove compartment. But in Rook City, maybe I do.
Yeah.
You pull out a gun and you just shoot out the red lights as you go under them.
They're like, welcome to Rook City. Here's your glove compartment gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's part of just living there.
And the envelopes that you fill with cash and give to the cops every week.
Right. They're accommodating. They're like, we've provided you with plenty of manila envelopes.
Right. They've got self-addressed envelopes.
Yeah. Just drop this at any of our drop locations.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right. Another letter from Level Up Leo, who sometimes goes by Leo Melanson. Dear Christopher and Adam, and hello to Trevor, who likely won't be answering this question, but I didn't want to leave him out. I'm sorry, but you cannot introduce a new character and not expect shipping questions. Yes, I know I'm feeding into the heteronormative societal mindset of guys and girls can't just be friends, but that's just the thing. Pop culture and media has been feeding that for so long. Which is where my question comes in. Were there ever any plans, either from writers or editing staff, to make Dion, Rubble/Lefty Young, and Parse a couple? If so, how far did they get before meeting opposition, if any? If not, there had to be some shippers, right? Thank you for your time. Level Up Leo. There's definitely shippers.
Yeah, there's definitely shippers.
You can't stop shippers.
Depending on, like, I don't know offhand how long Lefty was around.
At least a few years, but not.
Right.
Parse wasn't.
I don't know how many writers that we went through in the time that he's around, and like.
I think that the most that could happen is that Dion could have a point where he gets this, like, Stockholm syndrome thing of, like, yeah, but I've got a thing for her. Yeah, but it's one-sided. It's also, and, like, he's just a tool that she's using because we established that she's awful.
Yeah, these are very dark and dire stories. There's not a whole lot of room for love in them.
Well, I think that within the darkness and direness of the story fits this idea that he feels additionally broken because he's attracted to this person who is his captor and tormentor. Yeah, that he's like, I keep doing this partially because I have a thing for her, even though I know that she doesn't even see me as a person.
Right. Like, maybe he even has the opportunity to skip town at some point.
He's like, yeah, but I'd feel bad leaving her behind.
Yeah.
Dion, buddy.
Poor Lefty.
All right. Before we go to other questions, we return to the chat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ghosts, goats, goats, ghosts, goats, 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 ghosts. It's all goats and ghosts. When we started the Parse section, Francisco said, "My other problematic fave."
Oh, it's arrow murder time.
The dingy dingo, who is K, writes,
Okay.
Parse had such an incredible writer's room. I have to ask, how long does this brutal murderer stick around in comics before getting a revamp? We know that Parse uses the bow primarily when doing her shtick. Is she a bow/martial arts hybrid hero? We don't see her using a quiver in the cover art from the issue. She has a side quiver, right?
Yeah, she has a side quiver.
Yeah. And she doesn't, and the issue doesn't show her using a quiver. Does Parse practice the ancient method of bow usage where she draws and fires on the offside so she can carry around arrows in hand, rapidly firing while running and moving? Or is she bound by modern traditional methods and techniques? I was considering that her ability would let her become the greatest bow user of her time if she used the ancient method because of her perfect shot sense. She has a side quiver instead of a back quiver. As just, and I'm sure that it's sometimes she's pictured with a back quiver and sometimes a side quiver, and some artists just leave the quiver off entirely, and they're like, "Where do you get the arrows from?" I was like, "I don't know." Sometimes she comes in and she has a couple of arrows in hand, she shoots them, and then she runs with people, takes the arrow out, shoots it at somebody else, takes the arrow out, shoots it at somebody else. She's not so much martial arts. Like she engages it if she has to get close to somebody.
It's more like precision, evasion, stealth.
Well, it'd be the idea of like somebody would jump around the corner with their fists up ready to fight her, and she would just shoot them with an arrow point blank range.
Right.
But
she's gonna get beat in a fist fight.
Yes, and she knows it.
Yeah.
She doesn't hit people with her bow because that's stupid. Let's see. What else? But so how long did she stay around? Not long, because she shows up in the 80s, and by the 90s is like starting to reform. She reforms in the 90s, so at most she's a murderer for 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's still a long time, but
I think that there's also gaps in there. It's like
they definitely side burner, back burner, no burner her for a while,
right.
To reform the character, because they're like, okay, this character can't really survive going into the modern age.
Like most of her crimes are in Rook City, and they're notoriously bad about keeping criminal records. So like she can get away with a lot more than other characters.
There's a lot of people suggesting what the names of the forums that the gangs hang out in, such as r/gangs, and then also the Drug Boy Den.
The Drug Boy Den, yeah.
Evil Mass Brian says, no, from Lefty's point of view, no, the way she constantly threatens to kill me is a bit of a barrier to our love, I'll admit.
I'm wearing her down. Kay also asks, I was also wondering after the writer's room exactly how dark the 80s got. How much of the adult themes are implied versus depicted? Prostitution, drug usage, strip clubs. Is 80s mystery comics Schmitty level dark?
So Walking Target immediately after that points, it makes a good point, which is the comic code prevents depictions of a lot of that.
Right.
But that... all of those things,
yes.
Right? All of those things are certainly implied, but all of the 80s isn't super Sin City. Mystery Comics kind of is. Mystery Comics is almost Sin City in the 80s.
I mean, and it reaches
minus depiction.
It reaches peak dark in the early 90s, like
late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, Mystery Comics.
That's where the grim dark stuff really ramps up.
Yeah. But not all of comics were that way. So. All right. You want to real quick take that Nimbus question that just came in, and then we'll go to the last section here. Or I'll do this.
I have the first question. You do it.
I'll do it. Nimbus writes, in the chat, Nimbus says, I know you have so much time on your hands, Adam, but will we ever get to see covers of the issues that were told before writers' rooms? I mainly want to see the Inversiverse stories like Luminary and the Founding Five, Dark Watch and the Prime Wardens, Sunrise, and the Guys stories. If not, it's fine, but if you want to, I know people wouldn't complain.
So, like, here's the thing. I would love to draw a cover for all of the multiple thousand issues that we've talked about exist. I don't have time for most of that. So if I get time, then I'll draw covers for that stuff. But, yeah.
Hopefully,
we'll have to see.
All right. On to the last section, also known as Other Questions.
Other questions.
In the home stretch here.
This first question is from Windfall, who writes, Dear Adam and Christopher, in honor of Adam's newest bundle of joy, I present you a bundle of grade A Sentinel Comics dad jokes, since we all know how much Adam loves puns.
And you get to read these all.
Oh, boy. Okay. Did you know that Ryan Frost and Maya Montgomery are inseparable? That's because where there's a chill, there's a wraith. How many times am I going to sigh during this? Did you know that Lieutenant Tyler Vance's favorite hobby is busting myths? He's a debunker.
I would have gone with he's debunker.
Yeah, yeah, he's debunker. Yeah, there you go. Did you know Dr. Meredith Stinson had a phase where she wore really lame costumes? They were really tacky on.
I like that these all start with "Did you know?"
Yeah.
Did you know?
Did you know how the Prime Wardens first found Mac Dalton?
Oh, this is good.
Through a Tempest agency.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Lillian Corvus before and after Oblivion? It's a matter of opinion. Congratulations on the newest Sentinel of the Robotaraverse. Cheers, Windfall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Windfall. I appreciate those. All right, I've got a letter from Mystery Legos, who writes, Dear Christopher and Adam, I hope this letter finds you well. News of Adam's new family member got me thinking about the new generation of heroes and villains for Sentinel Comics. I've noticed that with the exception of Tiago and some young characters like Young Legacy, the Idealist, and Unity, there aren't that many characters who are teens or would be considered sidekicks. I like that you say that after naming several.
Yeah.
Was there an editorial mandate against the presence of young heroes in the Sentinels universe, or do they just tend to not show up in the card game because they don't have the impact to participate meaningfully in the big crossovers?
Yeah, so it was the latter. We talked about having some teen characters in there,
and we did have some.
We did have a couple, but
I think that the ratio is about right, honestly. That there is fewer teen characters than there are of adult characters.
Right.
In the pages of Sentinel Comics, and we showed some of them. We showed the most notable ones of them, but there's also a bunch of minor characters. There's tons of minor heroes and minor villains that come in and out all the time, and that you don't necessarily pay attention to.
Like we basically only show the A-listers. I mean, like we get down to the Sentinels, but like the Sentinels seem like D-listers next to the other ones, but they're pretty much B-listers. So like that's the only level that we go, and there are it almost definitely goes down to like D or E list. So there's a lot more characters than we had the ability to portray.
Are there any other teenagers with powers out there? Any teams of younger heroes that served as an inspiration for media like the Neo Fighters? If so, how painfully out of touch were the writers with kids when they wrote it? Did Kid Cosmic ever make the leap for animation to comics like Unity did? Have there been any sidekicks who got in over their head and ended up dead, like Schmucky Schmarns or Schmason Schmad? Thanks a lot for your time answering these questions. We kind of talked about this a little bit. Kid Cosmic was just unique to the animation. Kid Cosmic never made it over to comics.
Right.
There were probably some like promotional comics that weren't canon that were like, oh, this is the Kid Cosmic comics.
Right. Well, we also talked about that there is like a separate sort of line of animation tie-in comics that like have the stylings after the animation and are clearly not in continuity with the rest of the stuff. This is just for the animated fans.
Right. Yeah.
Just to buy that stuff over there.
But yeah, so other teenagers, there's teenagers around, there's sidekicks around, but I would say that Sentinel Comics doesn't have as much of a focus on that as Marvel and DC have had. The Sentinel Comics is a very different kind of comic company, for better or for worse. And so that is one of the things that changes with Sentinel Comics after post-Oblivion is this idea of the introduction of the Freedom Academy and having more of those sort of characters. But before that, there wasn't a notable teen team, because if there was a notable teen team, there would have been
Daybreak is the first like real notable one.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been others that with varying degrees of success. I'm sure some of them are like really cringy because they're written by some 50-year-old that's like way out of touch, or like some of them are a little bit better, but like that's ground that we didn't really need to tread with the card game, at least. I have a question from Mind Wanderer. Very brief. If you haven't yet listened to the audio clip of what the Mummy's 3D printed vocal cords sound like, please do it now and record your reactions. Trust me.
That trust me at the end doesn't make me feel like trusting you. And yet, I seem to have Googled it.
Did you pull this up?
I'm doing so right now.
Are we doing it?
Yep.
I didn't want to get cursed. That's why I didn't listen to it.
Here we go. content is no longer available. Let's try another one. Here we go. That's it.
That's the mummy's voice.
Eh.
I feel like there's something like.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a bunch of different.
You know. Okay.
Okay.
Get to the thing. Now here we got people. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Here, play.
Real mummy sounds like. That's the voice of Nessie Amun, an Egyptian.
All right, we have listened to it.
Okay.
That was underwhelming. Now we're cursed.
It doesn't sound very scary,
Mm-hmm.
but it is very scary.
It doesn't sound very scary because then it makes you underestimate it.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
But Adam, tonight,
Someone came at you and was like,
tonight while you're laying in bed falling asleep,
I'm just gonna hear.
you're gonna
that.
hear.
Yep.
Hey, do you want to curse? Hey, man.
No, I don't want to.
Hey.
Go away.
Would you like a curse, man?
No, I'm
What are you
busy.
doing? Are you sleeping?
I'm busy.
Are you
Yes, go away.
sleeping?
I'm sleeping.
Okay, I'll just be here.
What if you weren't?
Nope. Here forever. All right. I've got a similarly short letter from the lab rat, who writes, petition to call team villain ambuscade Glambuscade. That is all.
Petition granted.
Yeah.
I have a letter from Bronson who writes, good time of day, CAT. I was listening to the latest Writer's Room and I was wondering, how do you record the new stories that you come up with? I remember you guys talking about stories that you made up and forgot that you created. So when you first started, did you only record some of your stories on paper and others you just depended on your memory?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm going to pause right there.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that you say when you first started, because we're better about it now.
Do you mean still, though? Is that... We are better about writing things down.
We just wrote a really cool story like 3 hours ago this morning.
Uh-huh.
We wrote a really cool story.
I thought of a character name last
Yeah, I don't want to go into it.
I wrote on the board.
Yeah, and I came in this morning.
It came in, and I was like, "Do you see that?"
And I'm like, "Yes, here's the story about who they are." And you're like, "Oh, it's great."
Yeah, and we just like,
it's nothing.
it's great. We haven't written any of it down.
No,
We need to go write that down after this.
we do.
What about now? Do you have a large journal with pages falling out, ready to burst at any time, or have you moved to a computer server room with many racks of equipment and many backups on the cloud? What about things you make up during the podcast? Do you simply bookmark the episodes, or is it written and added to the journal or supercomputer once the podcast is over? Thanks for the great stories, and have a great day.
We have a series of Google Docs that we save everything in that is rather intricate. We've got spreadsheets, and we've got documents, and I've got a bunch of notebooks that are full of things, but those notebooks live to be uploaded to Google Docs later.
Yeah.
And most of them have been. So...
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of things. The problem is that we're constantly doing this. Whenever Adam and I talk about something like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do a thing like XYZ? Mm-hmm. And whether or not we end up recording that somewhere is kind of hit and miss.
We also do this really stupid thing. This is the stupidest thing that we do.
Okay.
I
can't wait to hear which one you think is the stupidest thing we do.
One of us will go, hey, we should do this thing. And here's the story or this idea for a character. Hey, wouldn't this be great? And then the other will go, yeah, that would fit really well in this thing down the line.
Yes. And
then that's it. That's the end of it.
And then
we don't write it down.
Yeah.
And
we go, well, when we get to that thing down the line, we'll definitely remember this conversation.
We'll talk about that then. Don't do that, us. That is the stupidest thing we do.
I guarantee we're going to do that again at least twice in the next week.
What if we just wrote everything down, though?
We try.
Yeah. All right.
All right, we have one last question. Before I get to that last question, I want to go to the chat, and then we'll do the last question, and then we'll be good. Mr. Fox writes, if you could have one story arc besides Oblivion be a real-life physical comics, which would you choose? So if we could only have one, I would probably do, like, Bear and Blade thing, but there's a real temptation for me to do Baptism by Fire.
Baptism by Fire would be cool.
Baptism by Fire would be really cool.
I need one story to be honestly, okay, so
Moonfall.
Mine would not be a major crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite comics are like just the sort of wrote day in, day out, like monthly.
No, I feel you.
Non big things.
But if you
It's
wanted to
just
have
like-
something that is like, okay, we're going to make this thing be a real physical comic,
Right.
and thus this is the part of Sentinel Comics that everybody can have.
I want 6 consecutive issues
Yeah.
of Freedom 5 from the mid 90s that don't have anything to do with the major crossover.
Okay,
That's what I want.
sure.
Like those are the ones.
I could also see an argument for 6 issues of Justice Comics
Or Justice
America's
Comics,
Finest.
or really like any of them, any 6 consecutive issues that aren't part of a major crossover. Those would be my dream comics.
The episode that we did ages ago on Dark Watch 1 through 6, I thought was killer.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Lord Wolfhunt asks, do Paul Parsons and Hugh Lausley know all the dad jokes? Well, no one can know all the dad jokes,
No, I'm gonna all.
but they know a bunch of them.
Yeah. God. Nimbus says, I think the Sentinels are idealist. Because idealist. But
I'm sorry, what?
it's a
I
joke.
went into a fugue state there for a second. I heard the perfect pun and it activated me.
Yeah. Oh, God.
All right.
It cut.
What?
Elias Swift, the heir apparent, gave us a Paul Parsons dad joke. In his growing age, he starts going bald, but gets hair growth stuff. Starts talking about his heritage.
I wasn't going to bring it up because I feel like we've told the story enough. But Normal Man has a specific request that we tell the Luminary story again about how we wrote down the Luminary stuff or made up the Luminary stuff and then forgot. He said,
He did have a specific
He
request.
said a specific request.
Yeah,
so
we thought of the
thought
name.
of the name.
For those listening at home, Normal Man did not ask. He said, if they bring up the Luminary story again, I'll scream.
And we just like, you know what? Maybe some screaming would be good for you.
Right, yeah. That's all right. You want to do the last letter?
Yes. All right. Last letter of the show.
What?
Canceled.
No. God, no.
No. Rabbit writes, hey, Christopher, Adam, and Paul. I'm usually a listener, not just of the podcast, but in life. I don't usually ask questions unless I need to be in analytical mode, but that's my day job. This message is going to actually hold to that pattern. I just wanted to thank you. I know you get it all the time. Thanks to the amazing game. Thanks to the great podcast. Thanks for all the wonderful lies, all of which I completely agree with, especially that last one. But that's not what I'm writing about. I have some individual thanks to share and then some collective topics, and I thought you deserved to hear them. Paul, who's actually in the other room. He's not here. Oh, good. Yeah, we're saying your name.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just come stand here behind Adam.
Paul's here.
Hey, Adam.
This is a letter to the three of us.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Trevor's going to be like, oh, guys, don't do this to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we're definitely bothering you.
So Rabbit is writing us a very lovely letter.
Oh, nice.
You need respond to none of this, but you should hear
Great.
it.
If you don't,
Good.
that's the first part that we read already.
Good.
Did you hear
I
me
just
say
heard my name.
Did you hear me
Next
say
to
your
the
name?
wall, and I'm like, I should go in there.
You should. You're right.
Yeah.
Good call.
Paul, thank you for pushing Adam and Christopher all those years ago and for continuing to push them and everyone else at Greater Than Games over the years. Your leadership, your presence, and your attitude have made amazing things you all accomplished possible. And I wanted to make sure that you knew it was recognized. Christopher and Adam have said it on the letters page in the past, in case you don't listen to the podcast. But those of us out here in Radioland know it's true. Thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
Adam, your willingness to share your art with the masses and include us in some of your work sessions have been wonderful. I haven't been able to make as many as I'd like, but when I have, it's been a blast. Looking back through the evolution of your art has been amazing. It's right here in the card game. Thank you for sharing your journey with us and being so honest and humble about it. And Christopher, your energy, enthusiasm, honesty, and attitude have helped the Greater Than Games fan community in ways I don't think you'll ever understand. For all of that, thank you. To all of you, I want to thank you for what you've created. Not the games, the company, or your amazing team of folks, although all three are wonderful. But the people adjacent to the company, the folks at the conventions and other events that you've curated and developed over the years, the citizens and the sidekicks. You've created a powerful community of caring and energetic people who care about you, your games, and your company, who travel around the world to help you expand your reach, and who willingly and passionately give of their time and energy to help promote the future of the company. It takes a lot to create a community like that. A lot of positivity, caring, respect, patience, and understanding. Thank you for putting so much into the sub-community within your fan base. I know you'll say a lot of the credit belongs to other GTG folks who've been responsible for and influential to the community over the past few years, and I completely agree. They've all worked hard to do the same. But the community was started by the three of you, and if that initial seed had not been tended and nurtured as well as it was, it could have never evolved into what it is today. Thank you for that. As one of those people, I have made amazing friends that I could never have otherwise, with wonderful experiences that I would otherwise never have imagined, found a worthwhile outlet for my drive to help others, and even fulfilled a few lifelong dreams. For that, I cannot thank you enough. It's been impressive to watch all this unfold, to see how shocked you've been at your own success, and to see you purposefully not let it go to your heads. Thank you for keeping it real and for being the grounded, sensible, caring curators of this community. You've done the impossible, and that makes you mighty. Have a better one, Rabbit.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
That's
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I read that letter. I'm like, I'm gonna read that one.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
thank you, Rabbit, and
so
thank you
much.
everybody in the community, because as like Rabbit says, like, okay, sure, this couldn't happen without three of us. This also definitely couldn't happen without you. Like, you are the people that he's talking about. So, like, yeah, we do the thing, but you are the thing that comes out of that. You are the reason that we do this, and the reason we continue to do this. So, thank you all.
now I'm all emotional. Garbage.
So with that, let's just end it there.
All right.
Let's call it a day.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the Patreon if you are. If you're not, if you're watching us for the first time here on a live show, we do these once a month. They're not always as emotional at the end. They usually aren't, but they are
This
all
was a very special episode.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, and we hope that you're all being safe and healthy out there and playing some games. Like we mentioned, we put a bunch of digital games on our web store for free, so go check those out. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Paul, any final words?
No, I just kind of cool. I heard it to the wall. It's like basically just the three of us here today.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it's been this week.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Then I heard my name to the wall. So.
you guys are not social distancing very well.
Same.
Paul,
No,
Adam, and I are
yeah.
social distancing. We
Yeah.
can't touch.
That's true.
It's,
No, you're not- don't-
you have to
We
put
have a
your
bunch of
arm
hand
out.
sanitizer as well out on the desk.
Well, you're gonna have to go roll around in it now.
Yeah.
Just yeah. All right. Thank you all, and catch you next time.
Thanks so much. Bye.